Hola clase. So I'm just in week 14, module 14 in Blackboard, just going over what was due for today, Thursday, the 9th. You had your places around town assignment, and that was to the framework for your final presentation. And that's going to be next Tuesday in class. And so you definitely want to make sure that you're in class on Tuesday. We have presentations that day, and that's going to be your final presentation for this class. And so that's due today. Just the framework, and you could email it to me just to have me take a look at it. You could submit it there, but you do want to check for your errors so you can fix them before you present. Because you still have your errors there, then those will be part of your presentation. And then you also had lexicas dos, which is the new vocabulary for the house. We'll review that a little bit today. And then finally, you have your Spanish class survey. So that's just to tell me a little bit about your feelings about the class and just how you think we can improve the class and some things that worked well for you. Please make sure you do that because it will help me to teach the class better in the future and help other students. So what I want to do is I'm going to go to the module 15 just so I can show you what the last week is going to look like. So for the last week, we're going to have you have the last two exploraciones. This is the last work. It's due by Monday, and that's just doing the question words a little bit, and then we're doing a little bit of practice with E to I, E verbs, and E to I. So that's for Monday. Our final presentations are on Tuesday, and you'll be doing those in class. Please be prepared for that. And then for Thursday, you're going to take your final exam. The final does include chapters 1 through 4. So you do want to start reviewing. We'll do a little bit of review in class, but it's really just a culmination of all the work that we've done. So I would just get organized for that and make sure that you are as ready as you can be to take that test. So I'm heading back into 14 because I want to talk about the presentations. If you weren't in class last night, or today's Wednesday, so when I'm recording. So if you weren't in our Tuesday class today, we did go over the format for this, and I did talk about this a little bit in our Edpuzzle last week. So basically, you're thinking of 4 different places in your town. It could be any 4 features, things that would be attractive to residents or people that want to come visit your city, and you're going to write about them. So the first step is to pick the 4 places. I picked El Parque de Delaware, El Museo de Arbor Knox, Cafés y Restaurantes, and El Estadio de los Bills. Then the next step is you want to ask 2 questions. So you have to have at least 2 questions with answers. So for example, I had, ¿Tiene un parque grande tu ciudad? And I said, sí, el parque se llama El Parque de Delaware. And then you also want to include some of the prepositions of place. ¿Dónde está el parque? Where is it? Está cerca del zoológico. So we worked a little bit about prepositions last night.
Excuse the interruption. An iPhone.
So you want to recycle some of those prepositions of place, like cerca de. For the second one, we have, ¿hay museos en tu ciudad? Sí, Buffalo tiene un museo moderno. ¿Dónde está el museo? Está enfrente de la Universidad de Buffalo. So there I have enfrente de, which we reviewed a little bit yesterday. So you want to write 2 questions. You can look at my questions, obviously write your own, but you want to have questions and answers. That's going to be the interview section where a student in class is going to help you out with. So on the day of the presentations on that Tuesday, I'll have you paired up with someone, and then you'll ask their questions to them. They'll present, and then they'll ask your questions to you. You'll answer them and then present. And then the second part of this is to come up with a little slideshow. So I just have an example here. So you may want to just do, this person said, lugares alrededor de mi ciudad, which is just places around town in Spanish. And then bienvenidos a Buffalo. So we just did like a welcome to Buffalo. And then you would put your questions. So you want to put your 2 questions per place here, put the answers. And then the next part of it is, this is the part 2, is where you're going to do the pictures. So you're going to put a picture, try to do at least 1 slide per place that you're talking about. And you can just recycle some of the information from your questions and the answers so that you're telling us a little bit more. So you're just going to put your picture there. And if we go back to the project sheet here, What it's saying here is using the information, the 1 to 2 questions you gathered from the interview about your city, now create a presentation to promote the 4 places for people who are looking for places to live. You can recycle those questions and say anything else you want to about the place. Use some pictures and make sure that you read over these instructions. I did say about 8 slides or 2 slides per place, but if you did 1 slide per place, it would be fine. But try to do a variety of pictures and a variety of information about your place. And so you're turning that in Blackboard. And then after that, you're going to use the corrections that I give you in Blackboard to inform your final presentation. So come to class Tuesday, you'll present, and that's it. And then we'll talk about the final exam then too. Okay, so that's the presentation. If you have any questions, please reach out to me directly. So that's what's coming up. You do have a discussion board next week too for week 15, and that's going to be writing questions. So here I see it. Let's go down. Some of these are not for you, just so you know. So if you see something and it's not in your Blackboard, it just means that we're not doing it. So here you're asking a question. It says that you have to respond to 2 questions and then ask 2 questions. So you can ask any questions you want, but try to use question words, which we're talking about today, and to ask a question. So let's head over to MindTap and just talk a little bit about the household vocabulary. Part of your work is usually to listen. So you want to listen to the different rooms. What I want you to do for this is just copy down the room in the house. So if it's el baño, and then just make a list of things that you might find in el baño so that you kind of review your vocabulary a little bit here. So you're going to say the word out loud and then just list the items that are in each room to review.
El primer piso.
So el primer piso is usually the second floor. La planta baja is usually the first floor. It gets a little confusing, but that's how a lot of buildings are designed in Spanish.
El baño.
So the first one we have is el baño. So you want to make that a category. So that's número 1, the bathroom.
El inodoro.
El inodoro. Or un inodoro. So it's we could say hay un inodoro en el baño. There is. And that's going to be the toilet. Inodoro.
La ducha.
Después you have la ducha or una ducha. Hay una ducha en el baño. Hay is there is or there are. That's the shower, la ducha.
La bañera.
La bañera, the bathtub. Hay una bañera en el baño.
El espejo.
Hay un espejo, a mirror.
El lavabo.
Hay un lavabo, sink.
El dormitorio.
So then we're heading over to the second room in the house, and la segunda habitación en la casa es el dormitorio, the bedroom. So let's list that as another room.
La lámpara.
La lámpara. Hay una lámpara, a lamp.
El armario.
El armario or un armario, a closet or armoire. Could be locker too.
La cama.
Hay una cama or la cama, the bed versus a bed.
La mesita de noche.
La mesita de noche is the little nightstand, the little table of night or nightstand.
La planta baja.
So now we're heading down to la planta baja.
Oh, I feel a little too many on this plate. Will you see some?
So in la planta baja,
La sala.
we have la sala. So there's another room in the house. La sala is the living room.
El sillón.
We have el sillón, which is like an armchair.
El cuadro.
El cuadro, the picture.
El sofá.
El or un sofá, hay un sofá grande. It's the sofa or a sofa.
La mesita.
La mesita, think of it as like the little table.
El patio.
Let's head out to the patio, which is like the backyard or the patio.
El jardín.
El jardín.
El comedor.
So now we're going to the comedor, which is where you comer. Think of it as your dining room.
La alfombra.
La alfombra. That's the rug, or hay una alfombra. So remember, it's important to remember that hay means there is or there are. And you can also say no hay. So hay or no hay. So you would say something like, hay una alfombra en el comedor. Or maybe you say, no hay una lámpara en el baño. So hay and no hay to say there is or there are.
La cocina.
Let's head over to la cocina. So that's our last room.
El refrigerador.
El refrigerador. Refrigerator.
El fregadero.
El fregadero. It's like the sink, where you scrub, like more like the kitchen sink. We have a lavabo en el baño. En la cocina es el fregadero or un fregadero.
La estufa.
La estufa or una estufa, a stove.
El horno.
El or un horno. Hay un horno en la cocina. El horno or un horno is the stove, the oven.
La cochera.
And then last one we have is a cochera, but I actually say garaje. So you can say hay una cochera, or maybe you say hay un garaje. Garaje, I think, is more common for garage. So these are some of the places in the house. And then down here you have some different words. You have cafetera. So tengo una cafetera en mi cocina. Coffee maker. Electrodomésticos are just appliances. Just in general, like horno, estufa. A lavadora is an electrodoméstico. El lavaplatos or un lavaplatos is a dishwasher. El horno de microondas or just el microondas, microwave. And then la secadora for secar is to dry, but secadora is a dryer. And then you just have a few extra words. You have alquilar, like alquilar. Yo alquilo un apartamento en la ciudad. I rent. Cortinas para la ventana, for the window. Dirección is your address. You would say mi dirección es el 17 de la calle All Elmwood. And then la flor, flower, or una flor, a flower. Habitación is just a way to say rooms of the house, like hay 4 habitaciones en mi casa. Hay un dormitorio, una sala, un baño y un comedor. Habitaciones. Muebles are like your mesita de noche, your sofá. Those are your muebles. And plantas are just plants. So, and let's just go over. So what you're going to do now is you're going to tell me which room of the house each of these items would be located. So we have cocina, baño, dormitorio, comedor, sala, patio. So for número 1, el horno. ¿Dónde está el horno en la casa? And remember, that's the question that we're asking if we want to know where is something. ¿Dónde está? ¿Dónde está el horno en tu casa? And you might say, oh, está en la sala. That wouldn't be right for this one, but you're going to tell me where these are. So, ¿dónde está el horno? Here you would have said está en la cocina or just en la cocina. 2, ¿dónde está el sillón? El sillón está en la sala. 3, el sillón, remember that's like the armchair. El lavabo. ¿Dónde está el lavabo? 3, el lavabo está en el baño. Lavabo is the sink to wash your hands, not the fregadero, which is in the cocina. 4, el lavaplatos. ¿Dónde está el lavaplatos en la casa? Lavaplatos, dishwasher, el lavaplatos está en la cocina. 5, ¿dónde está el armario? El armario está en el dormitorio o en mi dormitorio. 6, ¿dónde está la cafetera? Coffee pot. La cafetera está en la cocina. 7, ¿dónde está la mesita de noche? So that's like the little night table or nightstand. La mesita de noche está en el dormitorio. La cama. ¿Dónde está la cama? La cama está en el dormitorio también. En 9, ¿dónde está el inodoro? El inodoro está en el baño because an inodoro is the toilet. So we're just trying to find out where these items are in the house. The next category that we need to talk about today is your question words. So we're in Gramaticales 3 here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to play this video for you. Listen to the video, write down any question words. So questions words are like que and cuál. Actually, you have a list here. You have como, how, which could be like when you say ¿cómo estás? How are you? Or ¿cómo eres? What are you like? ¿Cuándo? ¿Cuándo es tu cumpleaños? So a lot of these words you've actually already seen in context throughout the lessons that we've had, but we're kind of just doing it formally now. ¿Cuándo es tu cumpleaños? So ¿cuándo es la clase? Right? So ¿cuándo? Usually question words come at the beginning of a sentence and they do have an accent on all question words have accents. ¿Dónde? ¿Dónde estás? Where are you? Or ¿dónde está el banco? We were practicing this in the last class. El banco está en el centro de la ciudad. ¿A dónde is more like to where. So if I say ¿a dónde vas? To where are you going? And you're usually going to have that a back in the question. So or in the answer, you would say voy a mi casa. So that a just means that you're going to a place usually versus just dónde. ¿De dónde? Like ¿de dónde eres? And again, just like a dónde, you're going to have the de in your answer. Yo soy de North Carolina or Carolina del Norte. ¿Por qué? Why? ¿Por qué estudias español? Why do you study Spanish? Oh, porque es necesario or porque me gusta la clase. ¿Quién or quiénes? ¿Quién is for one and quiénes? So if I say ¿quiénes son tus amigos? Or ¿quién es tu amigo? So it's singular and plural. Que and cuál are very interchangeable, but cuál usually has to do with a bunch of choices when you're trying to say which. Like, ¿cuál es la fecha de hoy? It's more like, what is the date? But because there's so many possible dates there, it's kind of like cuál. Que is more like, ¿qué haces? What are you doing? Or ¿qué comes? What are you eating? So what, not which. ¿Cuántos, like, cuántos estudiantes hay en la clase? ¿Cuántos is the plural form? Or maybe I say ¿cuántas clases tienes? So ¿cuántas usually would combine with a feminine plural noun, just like ¿cuántos combines with a masculine plural noun. And then ¿cuánto, as in how much? Last night we were talking a little bit about this when we said ¿cuánto cuesta un café de Starbucks? And we said, oh, cuesta $5. Or if it was something plural, ¿cuánto cuestan dos cafés de Starbucks? That would be the plural. And we might say cuestan $10. So it's just the difference between singular and plural. So let's go back to the video and let's watch the video and then answer the questions.
Your volume wasn't down, right?
¿Es el apartamento?
Bueno, la sala es bonita y muy grande.
¿Cómo es el
So
apartamento?
as you watch the video, you want to put the question words. If you see any question words like como, for example, you're going to notice that they're at the beginning of the sentence. They have accents. So let's watch it.
Bueno, la sala es bonita y muy grande. Hay un dormitorio con una cama matrimonial y un escritorio donde puede estudiar. También hay una cocina pequeña y un cuarto de baño con ducha y lavabo.
¿Qué electrodomésticos hay en la cocina?
Hay una estufa, un refrigerador y una lavadora.
¿Cuánto cuesta al mes?
$750 e incluye el gas, pero no el agua.
¿Y cuál es la dirección?
Está en la calle 8, número 53, cerca del hospital.
Okay, so I'm going to do that one more time. Just you're jotting down any question words you might hear in this video.
¿Cómo es el
Let's start
apartamento?
it again.
Bueno, la sala es bonita.
¿Cómo es el apartamento?
Bueno, la sala es bonita y muy grande. Hay un dormitorio con una cama matrimonial y un escritorio donde puede estudiar. También hay una cocina pequeña y un cuarto de baño con ducha y lavabo.
¿Qué electrodomésticos hay en la cocina?
Hay una estufa, un refrigerador y una lavadora.
¿Cuánto cuesta al mes?
$750 e incluye el gas, pero no el agua.
¿Y cuál es la dirección?
Está en la calle 8, número 53, cerca del hospital.
Okay, so let's just go down. So we should have como. We also heard que electrodomésticos hay, what appliances. And then cuánto cuesta, cuánto is another one. ¿Cuál es la dirección? So those are all some of our words that we have. So what we want to do here is we want to try to match the question with the answer. So ¿cómo es la casa? So you want to think about which answer to the right would best fit with that question. ¿Cómo es la casa? So for that one, it would probably be es pequeña pero muy cómoda de. 2. ¿Cuántos baños hay? For this one, it would be uno. We could say hay un baño or hay uno. There is one. 3. ¿Dónde está la casa? ¿Dónde está? Where is it? F está en el centro. ¿Qué hay en la cocina? Número 4. ¿Qué hay? B. Hay una estufa y un refrigerador. ¿Quién vive en la casa ahora? So, ¿quién es who? ¿Quién vive en la casa ahora? E. Una madre con sus 2 hijos. And then final, ¿por qué venden la casa? Why? ¿Por qué venden la casa? C. Ella tiene un nuevo trabajo en otra ciudad. So then down here, we want to think about, should it be cuál or qué, just for a few of them. And think of qué as more like what and cuál like which. So uno, is it qué de dormitorio or cuál dormitorio te gusta más? Because it's more like which, I would say cuál. In which calle, in which street is the apartment? Or in what street? We could say, en qué calle está el apartamento, en qué calle. So sometimes cuál and qué could be a little interchangeable, but usually there is a correct one. So which one is your house? Blank es tu casa, la casa blanca, or la casa azul? So would we say, ¿cuál es tu casa, la casa blanca, or la casa azul? We would say, ¿cuál? ¿Cuál es tu casa? So those are just a couple examples of qué and cuál. The last thing we have to talk about today are our E to IE and E to I verbs. So you already saw O to UE. We talked a little bit more about these in the last class too. So we have O to UE, just like poder or almorzar or dormir. Those are all O to UE. And what we learned is that these verbs typically they get conjugated exactly the same with the AR, ER, IR taken off. Remember, you have your endings o, as, a, amos, ais, an for AR, or you might have o, es, a, amos, ais, n for ER. So you should know those by now, AR. And then for IR, you would have o, es, a, emos, is, n. So those are all your endings. So we're going to use the same endings as we usually do, but instead of just having the regular conjugation like puedo, it would be puedo. So you have puedo, and you have puedes, and you have puede. And then outside of the boot, we said, so we would do a boot here. It's a boot verb. We're going to have podemos. It doesn't change. It's outside, and podeis. And then inside the boot again, it's going to be pueden. So we're using the en because it's an ER verb. We're using the endings for an ER verb, the same endings. So now what we're switching over to is talking about verbs that are E to IE. So it's the same exact concept, except for instead of going O to UE, now we're going E to IE. So we have verbs like cerrar, to close. We have verbs like querer, to want. That's one of our most used ones, to want. We have verbs like pensar, to think. And we have verbs like preferir, to prefer. So these are all considered to be E to IE verbs. So if we were going to conjugate one like cerrar, for example, let's do cerrar. It's an AR verb. So let's conjugate it in the boot. So just do this in your notebook. So it's E to IE, and we're going to take off our AR. So it's going to be cierro. Yo cierro la puerta. For example, I shut the door, or I am shutting the door. You don't need the yo, but it's there, just so you remind yourself of the subject. And then we have tú cierras la puerta, or el restaurante. Ella, usted, cierra. And I'm just using the AR endings right here. Outside of the boot, though, it's not going to change. So instead of cerramos, it's just going to be cerramos. Same with vosotros, cerráis, no stem change. But we're back in the boot now. And this is going to be ellos or ellas or ustedes cierran. So ellos cierran el libro, the book. So all of your E to IE verbs are going to work the same as this. So if you know, and usually it's going to tell you after, how are you going to know if it's E to IE? It would say E to IE after the verb. So you know that that's the type of verb it is. There's one last category, and that's E to I. So same as O to UE or E to IE. These verbs just change from E to I. So you have repetir, to repeat. You have E to I. You have pedir, to order or ask for, like in a restaurant, or ask somebody for something. That's E to I. Or you also have verbs like competir, to compete. E to I. So if we were going to conjugate competir, for example, like I compete, you compete. Let's try that. Let's do our boot. So we're going to say compito. So instead of competo, it's compito. So our E changes to an I. And then tú is going to be compites. So it's ES because it's an IR verb. We're just using our IR conjugations here. Compite. And then remember, outside of the boot, though, it's going to be competimos. No E to I. Or competís. And then back in the boot, it's going to be compiten again. Ellos compiten. Mucho. They compete a lot. So these are the categories. Just kind of go through these. Make sure that you know what's happening with the three categories we have so far. O to UE. We have E to IE. And then now we have E to I. And you'll be practicing these in your mind tap for the last sections that you have. If you have any questions or concerns, please reach out to me, and nos vemos en clase el martes. Gracias.